One of the most difficult things to deal with when you're free motion quilting is a machine that has tension issues. And I'm talking about the tension of the agreeableness of the stitch with the top thread and the bobbin thread coming together and forming a very nice, tidy stitch. A lot of machines will not let you futz about with the tension. They have such a highly computerized system that the system itself wants to tell you what the tension is going to be at. And if that system works, that's great, but a lot of times it doesn't. If you're having tension issues, it depends on what's happening and what type of machine you have as to what you can do about it. A lot of times it ends up being a point where the machine has to be maintained by a maintenance provider, a repairman. However, that being said, basic tension issues are, generally speaking, something that you are doing inappropriate to the machine. And so I always say the very first thing to do is, if you've only recently changed something up, you've changed from regular sewing to free motion sewing, and all of a sudden you have tension issues when you didn't have before, or you changed thread, or you put in a new bobbin. Generally speaking, something is either threaded wrong or the bobbin is put in wrong. And if you simply redo those things first before even thinking about changing the tension, sometimes that fixes it. Other times it truly is the tension, and perhaps you have moved the tension dial and forgotten that you have, and you simply need to move it back to the normal spot. Or you're asking your machine to do something that it's not regularly calibrated for. So a lot of machines are never calibrated to free motion quilting, and so the tension has to be moved. Others are calibrated in such a way that they can free motion quilt or guide stitch without changing that tension at all. So you need to know your machine so that you can understand the expectations that you can have when you're doing free motion quilting. Most machines have either a top loading bobbin, which is what this machine has, or they have a front loading bobbin. It goes in the front here. Every once in a while you'll have a machine that has a side loading bobbin. The ones that load on the side or the front are rotary bobbins, and you can control the tension on those by simply screwing or unscrewing the screw that's on the side of the bobbin case itself. Now when I say screw or unscrew, I mean that you take your screwdriver and you turn the screw a quarter of a turn. Check the tension again, see if it's better. If it is, leave it. If it's not quite good enough, turn it a quarter of a screw again. Don't get in there and just start screwing that screw multiple rotations. The whole case will fall apart. It's little tiny increments no matter what type of machine it is. However, if you have a drop-in bobbin like this, the tension is calibrated in the bobbin for you, and there's really not a whole lot that you can do to change it unless you can go into the computer itself and change that. You're left with only being able to control your top tension, and it's almost always in about this position on your machine. Some tensions go from 0 up to 9. Other tensions only go from 0 up to 7 or 6. And most of them have a little point where they've marked that is the normal tension. So it's got a little line somewhere around the 3.5 to 4.5 mark. Here I am free motion quilting, and as I got started free motion quilting, I ended up having some pretty gnarly tension issues here. This is called eyelashing, where the bottom thread is pulling that top thread all the way through and making a loop instead of interacting with it inside the layers of the quilt. What happens if I continue to accept that is that it's going to have long areas where I can just catch on things and the thread can break, and it's just not going to look attractive at all. So I need to change my tension, and I'm going to do that in small increments. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start stitching and get a feel for what that bad tension looks like. And I can see that it's bad from the front and the back. The back, I'm seeing all these loops, and here I'm seeing some big loopy things happening here. The tension is just way too loose. So when my presser foot is in the upwards position, not down, I'm going to go ahead and change my tension by 1 number. And then I'm going to check it again. If I change my tension when the presser foot is down, I have done absolutely nothing. When the presser foot is down, my tension discs close. They close up around the thread, and they can't be adjusted. So make sure that your presser foot is in the upright position. Then put it back down again and practice stitching or do some sample stitching. Check the back and see if it's improved, and it's definitely improved, which means I'm moving my tension in the right direction. In this case, I didn't have but one direction to go, but it's still not perfect or really good. So I'm going to lift that foot up again and change it by one number again and stitch some more. See if I like that. Now it's starting to look a little better, but I'm still getting some pull, and I can see that because it's actually pulling the fabric and acting almost like it's snagging the fabric, so it's still not up to par. Raise that presser foot, move to another number. Now I'm getting closer to the range that my machine says is the normal range, so I'm probably getting to where I should be. And that's starting to look better, but we've still got some fullness there. So one more number up. And okay, it's looking better and better all the time. So I'm doing that in little increments until I get it to look the way I want it to look, and I'm going to do one more, and I think I'm going to be exactly where I need to be. And I'm going to check that to see if it easily lifts up, which it doesn't easily lift up with the point of my scissor. If it did, I would know it's still too loose. If I like the way it looks in tight curves, which I think I like it, but I'm actually going to try tightening it just a little bit more and seeing if I improve that. And if I do, then I'll leave it there. If it doesn't improve, I'll go back to the previous number. And I like that even better. It won't lift up. And I actually like the indentation that's being made here a little bit more on top. It's not sitting on the surface as much as it was before, and my tension looks really good. So make sure that when you're changing your tension, that two very important things are happening. You always change your tension with your presser foot in the upright position so that the discs of the tension discs are disengaged, and that you do it only one number at a time at the most. Sometimes you're going to do it at half a number at a time. But you are in control of your upper tension, and it's yours to kind of fiddle around with until you have a stitch looking exactly like you want it to look.